Hello, Samich, and welcome to your effectively third deck review now. This one is a little bit of a weird one, you guys, because I did this deck review, uploaded it, sent the link to Samich, and then Samich very politely, very sweetly reminded me that I can't read words. The commander is Evereth, which lets you sack creatures or artifacts to put a counter on her. When she dies, you can pay mana to hit everybody at the table for her powers they were talking about. I want to make Evereth a big, juicy bomb, and she's going to bust on everybody. Great plan, right? I thought great plan too. So I started looking at the deck, and I was like, how much sacrifice fodder can we get? That's what we have to maximize. We have to get rid of the cards that can only be sacrificed once, only be sacrificed twice or something. And we have to get something that every turn you're getting more fodder or will make you fodder on other people's turns. And they very politely pointed out that Everett says only as a sorcery. So I got rid of that video because it was fucking useless. So many of the things I recommended were based around a tempo of being able to sacrifice on other people's turns, being able to trick people, being able to get tokens on their turns like Ophiomancer or something. So I have given them the actual deck update in writing. I am filming now a speed run for you all, and I have refunded them. Even though they were very kind, they did not ask for one, and they were extremely nice. They even told me like, oh, I really like the deck review. I just wanted you to be aware for like, you know, in case the YouTube comments get you, Evereth is only as a sorcery, but don't worry at all. I'm worried, okay? That was dumb. I did a dumb thing. So if you, Sandwich, if you want to pay me, just buy another one someday. So we're going to go over a speed run of all the stuff I talked with them about over email. Now, they have made some of the changes already, so I have a different version of the deck list that I had duplicated when I was working on it off camera. And overall, the stuff that I took out was in the sideboard. And so let's talk about what wasn't working for this deck. And what wasn't working, interestingly enough, was ramp. Like, we need a lot of mana later on in the game, but a lot of our ramp, other than, okay, I Soul Ring turn 1, I get Evereth turn 2, or I Dark Ritual turn 1, I get Evereth turn 1, the ramp wasn't really worth an incredibly large amount. It felt more important to me to set up card draw engines, to set up sacrifice engines, because there are some very, very good things like Bloodghast is one of the weaker ones, IMO. But there's stuff like Obsessive Pursuit, which is an artifact and a counter every turn. This is something they already had in. All the stuff I actually added, I added this. Just so it doesn't seem like I'm taking credit for their stuff. They had some incredibly dumb cards like Prize Statue that are very, very cute. And I think actually in my first version of the video, I recommended they cut these. And this time around, I'm trying to let the cute stuff rock. And that keeps this a silly deck, right? The fact that we're doing Prize Statue, we have Ichor Wellspring, we have Impulsive Pilferer. This is cute shit. But it's adorable, and I want to let it sing. That said, like, Rakdos Signet ain't cute, and it's not even doing what we want. So most of what I recommended they add was stuff that makes you a token every turn, because over the lifetime of a game, that's going to provide you way more value than Shambling Ghast. It's going to provide you more of the value your deck wants than something like Rakdos Signet or Talisman of Indulgence. When we don't have a high mana value we're racing to, we're on 37 lands, we have card draw, we're going to hit enough land drops to kind of do the thing. The probably two most questionable cuts I made were Gravecrawler, Warren Soul Trader. Because Warren Soul Trader is very, very powerful aristocrats piece. Gravecrawler is like the recursion piece. But in the first draft of the deck, I think we had 3 zombies. I think we are now down to 1 zombie because we also cut Shambling Ghast. And I'm going to tell you all what I told them the first time around, which there is a different version of this deck that is not the one I'm recommending to them today, but I do think does work, where you have Alesha as a second commander, or you could even put Alesha in the command zone and have Evereth be like a secret commander that Alesha can recur if we get 1 counter on her. But what I saw a lot of in the first draft is we had a lot of these non-token permanents that were able to get more than one fodder per fodder. Like it was a non-token permanent where when you killed it, oh my god, it made one more thing. Oh, that's so cute. But it still only represents 2 Everest triggers over the course of the whole game, unless we're bringing them back over and over and over again. And the only way the first draft of the deck could bring them back over and over and over again was Chthonian Nightmare. We had a few other one-off reanimation spells, but I still think are like okay to keep in case a really important synergy piece goes down, like Pitiless Plunderer. We need to bring back like Grim Hireling or something, which is incredibly good. But without a lot of long-term, I'm bringing back one little shitter every turn engines, I just don't really believe in these like, oh, they're bad, but they're one, and then they're one more. If we were Mardu, I would believe totally. Let's talk about what I put in. Bitter Blossom. I know, Snooze Fest, very good card, but very effective for what we want. We can either chip down other people's life totals, we can hold up flying blockers, we can feed them all to Evereth. It's great. Then Dark Confidant and Darkstar Augur. The deck is a little bit lacking in card draw. If you ever hit either of these cards, they're amazing. And if you're ever tired of how much life you're losing, which I doubt you will be because you can give Evereth lifelink, you can sacrifice them. Phenomenal. First funny ad, Gavel of the Righteous. I'm going to pull this up on Scryfall so you can see it in all its righteous glory. This is a really bad card. I love trying to make really bad cards work in commander decks because another thing I was thinking about is like we want some type of insurance policy such that if Evereth gets exiled on turn 7, we're not just out of the game. And Gavel of the Righteous gets a charge counter on each of your combats and then gives whatever you equip it to +1/+1 for each counter on this equipment. So if we get to do it turn 2, that's the dream. But at any point we do it, we kind of put a 4 to 5 turn clock on the game because we have a way to buff our commander that doesn't require our commander to be on field. Super good for this deck. It also turns on Double Strike, which means you can flex into a Voltron kill or even just flex into like, oh, well, I'm not going to get to 21 commander damage, but I'm going to soften you up enough that I can then nuke you. Another one that's in that same vein of soften you up for the nuke is Gold Dust Triad. Now, this is a much better card than Gavel of the Righteous generally. Important to note, you can't sacrifice the Myriad tokens because of the sorcery speed thing. I just don't want people to think that I misread the card again after I spent 24 hours trying to correct my misreading of the card. What I like for this is it's flying, which means people are going to have a harder time blocking it. It's 4 damage to every player per combat, and it's 3 treasures. Which means we're set up on the next turn to get 3 more counters onto Evereth. It'll give Evereth lifelink, or we can just pseudo ramp into a really, really big turn. But it's helping bring down the ceiling of how much life everybody has so that the nuke doesn't have to be as big. In a similar vein, Kirkkeep, this is just like absolutely or very, very low downside on this. We're only a 2-color deck. Our land base is pretty good about fixing colors in general and gives us a way to potentially make one more blocker that we need, one more piece of fodder that we need, and takes the place of a basic rather than a spell. This is probably my personal copium card for the deck. God, I want this to be good. Holy God, I want this to be good. Obviously, you would never make this guy fodder, but if we combine Ortheon, who can make token copies of other creatures we control, with any of our good non-token creatures, like a second copy of Professional Facebreaker to get 2 treasure tokens per hit, and then we get to sacrifice the token copy as guaranteed fodder in main phase 2. Getting an extra Impulsive Plunderer is even fine. Getting an extra Grim Hireling is probably the dream. You punch 4 treasures out of somebody, that game is stacked. You get an extra Gold Dust Triad, get an extra Siege Gang Lieutenant. Again, I went more in the direction of silly upgrades for this deck because I wanted to keep to the silly, goofy spirit that I kind of saw looking at the deck. But that's my pie in the sky dream. And it has that same like, oh, did we get really late in the game and we don't have and like I don't have a great out, 5 copies of my best creature. Eat shit, Jared. And then Shiny Impetus, which I said was de facto removal. It's one of, I love the impetuses. I love goading the green player's best creature, and hey, makes us treasures. Talked about Siege Gang Lieutenant, but this was one of the first ones where I did was like, hey, you have a 1-drop that can make you 2 fodder. Cute, efficient, great. What about a 4-drop that makes you 2 fodder every turn of the game? Every turn you can sacrifice on. Obviously, it's your combat. And then Sunset Sarsaparilla Machine, so the Nuka-Cola vending machine. Also just crazy good. It's again like it's 3 mana, and then every turn it's 1 mana for 2 sack fodder. 1 mana, 2 sack fodder. 1 mana, 2 sack fodder. And guarantees lifelink, which lifelink is not the most important thing in this deck. It's very important with Evereth because you need to be able to swing with impunity. You don't want people to be able to just beat you to death before you're able to get the bomb up to speed. And then last but not least, another funny cope card. Hear me out. Wand of Orcus. Now, is this bad? Hugely. We can't... Wand of Orcus won't be online until turn 5 if we have it in our opening hand. And if we do, it will be the only thing we're doing by turn 5. There are some curve outs that make this fine. But this, to me, is like discount Reaver Cleaver for this deck. Because we already have Reaver Cleaver, and this is one of the few decks where I think, yeah, actually, you keep Reaver Cleaver. Is it greedy? Yeah, but it's... God. Make that many treasures? Immaculate. And this is basically the same card. They're just not treasures. They're zombie chump blockers. So if you can get a curve out, or if you can keep an opening hand where you have, let's see, Obsessive Pursuit would be the best one. But if we hit any of our 2-drop stack fodder things before Wand of Orcus, and we go turn 1 skip, turn 2 sack fodder, turn 3 Everett, turn 4 Orcus, turn 5 equip Orcus, play another 2-drop, that's so weak, and I think it's a lot of fun. Because you make like 4 zombies, and then hey, the next turn she's an 8/8. You make 8 zombies, and then the next turn, hey. And that is the speed run of all the stuff I suggested. Now, to all the people on YouTube who are watching this and are like, oh my god, that does seem really fun. However, my pod would kill me dead before I could resolve Prize Statue. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't change about this deck that we could have to make it better. Oh, and then Descent into Avernus, also. The GOAT, the OG. Same thing as Gold Dust Triad, but way better. Just way, way better. We damage everybody. We make us treasures, so it's ramping us. It's giving us lifelink to outpace the Descent into Avernus damage. It's damaging everybody else to get their life totals nice and low before we nuke them. Perfect card for the deck. So if we wanted it to be even better... We're in black. The obvious answer is tutors and interaction. We have some interaction. We don't have an incredibly high amount of just straight removal. A lot of our stuff is like, oh, well, this is meant to kill Everest to make the bomb go off. If you were going to tool this towards a higher bracket, you would probably aim for the Voltron kill, and the nuke would become secondary. But if you even if you didn't want to do that, some of the very best cards you would want, you would just go all in on the fodder creation. So get the other copy of Bitter Blossom. You would start bringing in tutors, which I very specifically did not bring into this version of the deck because it was just so sweet and silly. But number 1 best tutor, not Beseech the Queen. I think it's Beseech the Mirror. Beseech the Mirror, because we're going to have a shitload of tokens, a shitload of treasures. Like, we have those fodder artifacts. This is just a second copy of Descent into Avernus in my mind. Second copy of Descent into Avernus. Second copy of, God forbid, Ortheon's the relevant thing to do. Second copy of Grim Hireling. Second copy of any of our card draw engines if we're out of draw. Like, that's where you go in the upper brackets. You would also definitely want to bring in something like Deflecting Swat. I would bring in more and more of the redirect and copy spells for interaction, not only because it lets you boing whip stuff that's sent to your commander early on, but an interaction I would like us all to appreciate with deflecting SWAT and Everett is if we are pretty close to bomb territory and somebody tries to remove something else, we can SWAT it onto our commander. Isn't that fun? I really doubt those situations are going to become super relevant in bracket 3 commander. Like what's probably happening is they're going to target Everett with exile and you're going to have to protect her with this. But I dream of a world where, where there is a board state in which like you have the nuke but can't set it off and somebody tries to remove something else to be able to kill you, like one of your blockers, and you just go, no, that's hitting Everett actually. You die. That's awesome. That's so awesome. Yeah, so this one is a little bit shorter because we have shortcut the process of me figuring all this out live, as we had to do it in a back and forth off camera. So Sandwich, thank you so much for your patience. I do hope this helped, and I hope you enjoy the deck.